Last week, we had our very first visit to Epic Universe, and this is everything we did in one day. We had early park entry, so we got into Epic Universe a little before 9 and headed straight for Super Nintendo World. The kids started by playing with their power-up bands for a bit, and then they wanted to go on Yoshi's Adventure. We were using Universal Express, but we definitely did not need it first thing in the morning for this ride. After Yoshi's, the kids were ready for their next ride, and this time they picked Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. By the time that we were off of Mario Kart, it was after 10 a.m., which meant that the park was now open to regular guests. Since Minecart Madness should have been opened at this point, the kids wanted to ride that, but unfortunately it was broken first thing in the morning. So instead, the kids played a few more power-up band games and then went into Bowser Jr.'s lair to win the Golden Mushroom. After that, the kids were done with Super Nintendo World for a while, and we headed into Celestial Park, where we went on the Constellation Carousel. At this point, it was a little after 11 a.m. and the kids were starting to get hungry, so we went to get lunch at Atlantic, which ended up being my favorite restaurant at Epic Universe. Unfortunately, after lunch, it started to rain and we needed somewhere to wait out the storm, so we headed into the Wizarding World and went to ride Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. And luckily, our plan worked because by the time that we were off of the ride, we went outside and the rain had stopped. I would have stayed in the Ministry of Magic area all day, but the kids really wanted to go on Stardust Racers. This ended up being a flop though, because after waiting an hour, even with Express, Stardust Racers broke down and we were not able to ride it. Our next stop after that was to head into the Isle of Berk, which ended up being one of our favorite spots inside Epic Universe. Our first stop was the Untrainable Dragon Show, which unfortunately got canceled halfway through due to a malfunction. After that, we still spent a couple more hours inside Isle of Berk, though, riding all 3 rides. First, we rode Dragon Racers Rally, then we rode Hiccup's Wing Gliders, and finally, we rode Fire Drill. All 3 rides were really fun. My kids' favorite was Hiccup's Wing Gliders, but my favorite was Fire Drill. After Isle of Berk, the kids asked to head back into Donkey Kong Country because Minecart Madness was back up and running. And after Minecart Madness, it was time to head into our last portal to visit Dark Universe. It was a good idea to wait until the evening to head into Dark Universe because so much of Dark Universe is cooler at night. Our first stop in Dark Universe was Frankenstein's Manor to ride Monsters Unchained. I thought this ride was so cool, and so did my husband, but unfortunately it did scare 2 of our kids because there are a lot of monsters and jump scares that happen during this ride. After we got off our first ride in Dark Universe, we went to meet Frankenstein and the Bride and then got in line to ride Curse of the Werewolf. This spinning roller coaster was our last ride of the day inside Epic Universe. Once we were off the ride, we went over to Burning Blade Tavern to grab dinner. The drinks and mocktails inside Burning Blade were pretty good, but the food unfortunately was pretty bad. And most of it got thrown away. But while we were waiting for our food, Bailey did get to have this cute interaction with a werewolf hunter. Then we left Dark Universe to go and watch the Cosmos fountain show that happens in Celestial Park, but by this point the kids were getting pretty tired. And after the show, we still had to feed the kids dinner because they didn't like any of the food in Dark Universe, so we ended up stopping at Pizza Moon to grab the kids a pizza, and it was delicious.